MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network continues, as does our conversation with the premier combat sport odds maker in the business, Joey Oddessa. So, Joe, we've got UFC 177. There's a lot of criticism about this card, and normally I defend those, the critics before a fight card and say, you don't know whether the card's going to be good or not. It could be really entertaining. It could be like, 4 or 5 great fights on this card. But with that being stated, people have to see the card to enjoy the card, and people have to pay $60 or whatever to watch the card. And truth be told, I think there's going to be a lot of people are going to be taking a pass, Joey, the old fight pass, so to speak, of laying down $60. Obviously, I'm intrigued by the rematch, and I look forward to your take on this. So, Renan Barão, we going into that fight the first time, he was complaining about the money. I'm only making $40,000. How come Uriah Faber makes way more money than I do? How come they don't push me more? He was very unhappy. He didn't seem to be very focused. Then he had an incredible problem cutting weight. He was completely drained during the fight. It was almost like it was like a clone of Renan Barão, but it really wasn't him. I don't want to take anything away from TJ Dillashaw, because Dillashaw fought a perfect fight that night. Just, the perfect combinations. Everything was perfect. Ludwig and they put together a great plan, and he executed it 100%. But Barão just wasn't himself. The question is Barão going to be hungry again, or is he still in some sort of weird mental state, Joey?
Well, he's got to be hungry. Because he's, if he loses this fight, then he's, they're not going to give him a third shot at it. So he's got to split. He's got to win. This is I don't want to say it's a must-win, but he wants to stay in title contention. If he wants, he's got to do something, because he's not going to get a third shot at Dillashaw. Regardless of what happens, unless it ends in a draw. We've seen it with Frankie, Edgar, and Maynard, but those are hard to come by. Dillashaw dominated the first fight, and if he dominates this one, Barão is, I don't want to say he's done, but he just steps to he steps back a few notches. I think this card's great. Now, I'm not saying great name-wise, and I've said this, and I've said it since day one. They say that the thing that made the UFC was Forrest Griffin versus Bonner. Now, neither guy was a spectacular fighter, but the fight turned out so good that it propelled the UFC to the next level. You got guys on this card, starting from the bottom to the top, you got less than 2-1 favorites on here. There's a lot of, this is a stepping stone card for a lot of these guys. This is going to be the difference between guys going from, the fight pass prelims, guys like Chris Wade and Carriosa and Soto and Burchak, who got moved to this card, and got, Henry Cejudo, the Olympian, against Scott Jorgensen. Jorgensen won his last bout, but he's been on the skid. Cejudo, won the Olympics at 21 years old, freestyle wrestling. I believe it was freestyle.
Yeah, Cejudo's minus one.
Bronson, Larkin.
Minus 160 favorite.
Great fights. These are pick-em fights.
He's a minus.
The numbers are out there early, so
a little bit of a connection issue with Joey. I was going to say Cejudo's a minus 160 favorite against Jorgensen. Hard not to like him. Jorgensen won his last fight, but hasn't looked great, recently doing it. I think Cejudo's the play at minus 160, Joey.
Yeah, look, Cejudo uses his wrestling to control. Jorgensen is not as good a wrestler as Cejudo rather. So, whether Henry shows up, whether he can take one on the chin, whether Jorgensen can deliver one on the chin. Experienced Jorgensen wrestling Cejudo, you got to lean towards Cejudo. He's going to take him down, and he should be able to control him. Like I said, from top to bottom, there's a lot of really close fights here, but there's also some some fights that prices are, I'm a little surprised. I didn't go up early. I say I'd rather go up right than first, and I think that there's a couple spots here on this undercard where there's money to be made. There's some real, some good tests here. And, you got Shania Baszler, who hasn't fought in a year, and, she's up against Beth Correa. And these women's fights, I'm liking these women's fights. Unfortunately, the women's fights are the ones they seem to be scoring wrong, which is kind of rough. In a new, with them coming into the organization, I could say there's more controversy over the women's scores than there are over the men's scores. And maybe, I don't know, maybe it's because they're not looking at the right things. Maybe they're too busy looking at the women and not the technique.
Lorenz Larkin and Derek Brunson is the main event of the prelims, Joey, before the pay-per-view starts. And that's a quality fight right there. Is he talking about sort of a crossroads fight? Brunson's earned a lot of respect over the past little while. He's coming off a loss, but it's no shame in losing to Yoel Romero. Just a vicious, vicious fighter, Romero is. Meanwhile, Larkin's stock is...
Romero's ass.
Yeah, you look at Larkin, not so much. Larkin's lost 2 straight to Tavares and to Costas Philippou. I like Bronson in this fight, Joe, and the fight's basically a pick-em. Short price here.
Yeah, I think Bronson, this is Bronson's time. I mean, he was beating Romero up to the point where he lost, in the 3rd round. A loss is a loss, but he was winning. The game's not over till it's over. But I like Derek Bronson there.
So what about the main event, Joe? You pulled a Chief Ralph Wiggum and you tailed off. You jumped on to another fight. What do you make of this one? Like I said, Dillashaw fought a perfect fight the first time out. He dominated, though. See, it's not like, he fought a perfect fight and, it was like Gustafsson against Jones where he fought an amazing fight and it still wasn't enough. He fought a perfect fight and he completely dominated one of the best fighters in the world. I just have a hard time seeing him be able to do that 2 times in a row, Joey.
We'll just refer back to Sonnen versus Silva 1. So what can Dillashaw do better than he did in the first fight against Burrell? I don't think much because he dominated. If he can do it again back to back, he's going to get the win. Now he's the favorite. Before he was a huge underdog. Nobody really gave him a chance. So only Burrell can improve on this fight. Dillashaw can't. Whether he wins it or not, whether he deserves to be, a $1.45 favorite or a $200 favorite, I don't know. I think that this is, that's what it's going to boil down to. That's what I compare it to, numbers-wise. And as far as performance-wise, you mentioned about guys crying about title shots and money. Gustafsson seems to have that syndrome now too. With Cormier and whatnot. So you're going to see some drama there coming up in the future. A little prediction of maybe a guy that's going to really, really get his ass whooped when he steps in with either one, with Cormier or Jones, because he's all concerned about the title shot and how Cormier doesn't deserve it now. And Gustafsson's the one that got hurt in the first place. He's out, Cormier's in, now Jones is hurt. It wasn't like Cormier got hurt. Yeah, but I did want to touch on that before he got off.
It's a what have you done for me lately world, Joey, in the UFC. We got to wrap it up, Joey. It's great to have you back. Phone connection not great, but you know what? With all the winners you get, Joey, why don't you buy like a presidential red phone or something like that? We got to get you off the Vonage deal.
Yeah, well, this is a different one here. This is a local Costa Rican one, which is surprising, but I do have another one getting set up today. I get
local.
Our phones in this house in Montbell.
Local Costa Rican line. All right, thanks for the time, Joey.
All right, my pleasure, Gabe. Have a good one.
There's Joey Oddessa with us. We'll come back, wrap it up. We got some videos of the week, though, too. MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network continues. Thanks to Joey Oddessa for kicking it with us. Before you wrap it up, we got a couple of videos for you, and pretty crazy videos, actually. Some real sick stuff. So without further ado, let's get to one of the craziest knockouts and amazing kicks you're ever going to see. It's just like textbook. That's pretty crazy stuff. All right, we got to wrap it up. Thanks to Joey Oddessa for joining us. Don't miss MMA Meltdown Radio every Tuesday night, Sirius XM Channel 167. Other than that, you're on your own. Later.